Hey guys, Wolfie here. This is part 3 of 4 for the Volume 8, Chapter 10. This is going to be about Winter and Qrow. Now, with these two, we do know a few particular important things from Volume 8, Chapter 10. And before that, the usual disclaimer, any opinion in this video and the other videos for this particular mini-series is my opinion and my opinion only. Now, with Winter and Qrow, these two have an interesting history. Both, when they're on the screen at the same time and away. Now, with Volume 8, Chapter 10, things get a lot more interesting between those two in their separate regards. Now, for Winter, this does set the stage for her to be an either-or, meaning that either she survives and takes over certain things, or she dies, but Ironwood is going to be a dead man as a result of it. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to Winter, but we do know certain things. Now, we do know that Harriet threw Winter underneath the bus with what happened to Yang, Jean, and Ren. Now, we do know that the latter three, Yang, Jean, and Ren, they're still alive. But the question comes down to this. With Winter, will she live or will she die? Now, I personally think she will live. She'll be taking over the Elysium military, becomes the new headmistress of the Atlas Academy. But she will not use one of the council seat that Ironwood had. Now, the reason why I don't think she's going to be doing that is because, that's something that Winter's not really wanting to do. She doesn't want to take on that much. Now, if she doesn't do so she's probably taking on certain roles that Ironwood had, but she's going to be delegating to the rest to people who she could trust. Now, this kind of does relate to Weiss in the sense where it's like Weiss is going to be given an opportunity to use her role as a huntress to take over the new seat. If it's not going to be her if it's not going to be Winter herself or Jacques or Whitney. So we're probably going to see Weiss going into a possible role of politics. Because even though she's a huntress, she does some things in a way where it's a lot better off overall. Now with Winter, she has a more sound head on her shoulders. It's listening to reason, listening to other people before making a decision. In this, thinking that it helps Winter, make somewhat better decisions. Now, none of the Aesops know, Winter doesn't know, Ironwood doesn't know that Jean, Ren, and Yang are alive. As is Oscar. Now, we do know, so because of, Winter's decision making, it's just she took a gamble on Marrow's advice, and he made her think of her younger sister. Which is a gamble that they don't know that was successful. Now, this did come at the cost of Hazel's life, which is sad in its own right. So with that, I do think Winter's going to be surviving here, and she's going to be taking over part of what Ironwood did, but with a more sound head on her shoulders. Now, if she does die, we are probably going to be seeing Ironwood. We're going to be seeing his death a little bit sooner than later because it's the way his mind is. And oddly enough, it's it's one of those things for Ironwood. It's he should have been thinking, he should have been listening to others, he should have been more open to help instead of that. And then whereas with Winter, she's a completely different. It's you listen to others, you think about it before you make your decision. And I do think that Winter is a far better leader in sense of the Elysium military than Ironwood. And with that, the whole thing with Mantle and Alice going to war with each other, a proper civil war, this kind of puts Winter in a very interesting position overall. It's because we do know that Ironwood is not the my right mind frame, but it's one of those things at the same time. It's like you have someone who's not in the best mind frame, but you have someone else who is. And I'd rather, for me, if I were in a position of reporting to somebody in the military, I would rather listen to somebody who is in a better mind frame than somebody who isn't, because somebody who isn't may make decisions where it costs them even more later on. And that's not really a good outlook. So, this is not going to be too long of a video. I do want to get on with Qrow here. So, with Qrow Branwen, we do know that he and Robin, they break out of jail alongside Schnee. Now, remember that post-credit scene in Volume 5, Chapter 14, where a bird makes a visit to Tai Yang. Now, I did say in videos, we think it's Raven. We don't know if it's really going to be her or if it's going to be Qrow instead. We do know it's going to be one of the Branwen twins. Now, we do know that in the scene that Tai Yang doesn't have a smile on his face. He's very sad. He's not happy. Now, we do know that one of them will be making Tai Yang a visit. Now, a part of me thinks it's going to be Qrow. He somehow makes it to Patch, let Tai Yang know the whereabouts, all that stuff, because of the earlier on in Volume 8 where RWBY makes that message. Tai Yang now knows where RWBY is, that she's okay. So it's a matter of okay, how does Tai Yang get to where RWBY is? Now, it might still be Raven because of her semblance, meaning that she has a connection to Yang. Now, if Tai Yang is visited by Raven, we do know that Raven can get Tai Yang over to where RWBY and Yang are. And that could be, hey, we're getting some help. This could be a bit of a reunion of the surviving members of Team Stark, because we do know that Summer is dead. We still don't know what happened to her. So with that that little tidbit out of the way, I think part of me is just okay, we don't know the whole thing with Qrow. It could be he is very well up in the air, because it's he's fighting off a bunch of the guards, and the whole thing with Clover's death, it's Qrow's weapon was used, but the person whose hands was on the weapon was actually Tyrion. So it's a lot of bit of hey. It's hey, yeah, I was there, but somebody else had their hands on my weapon. And that's how Clover died. It was my weapon, but I was not the one who stabbed him from the back. Which is hey, whatever. So, to do a bit of a quick recap for Qrow and Robin, they're both interesting scenarios. It's they can survive, one of them or both could die. It's just a matter of the remaining 4 chapters for Volume 8. Now, the final part of this whole 4-parter is going to be on Ironwood, because he's going to be one of those characters just there's so much to digest. So it's one of those things that's yeah. But to do an overall recap of this particular part, Winter and Qrow particularly are both up in the air as regarding their fates, meaning that they can either survive or die. For Winter, she could die, for treason, whatever, somebody saves her. She can live and take over part of the roles Ironwood had, but give one of the other roles to somebody else. Now, for Qrow, the whole thing with that post-credit scene in Volume 5, Chapter 14. Now, with this particular portion, it's just that we don't know who makes that visit. We have an idea of who makes that visit to Tai Yang. So a lot of people are mentioning Raven or Qrow. We do know it's one of those 2 individuals. So it really will depend on what's going on in the remaining 4 chapters for Volume 8. Now, I'm going to sign off for this video so that way I can get to Ironwood, the main focus for this particular 4-parter. So, with Wolvie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.